Welcome to Night Shadows. I'm Stewart Best, where the paranormal is normal, where that which you thought you knew, you didn't, and where the future can be known if you know exactly where to look.
Well, good evening, everyone. Thanks for tuning in and listening. And I think I read this once before, but it's so important I'm going to read it again. It's a prophecy. It's called The Whirlwind. Behold, the whirlwind of the Lord goeth forth with fury, a continuing whirlwind. It shall fall with pain upon the head of the wicked. The fierce anger of the Lord shall not return until he has done it, and until he has performed the intents of his heart. In the latter days you shall consider it. Jeremiah 30. Then the prophecy, a whirlwind is coming to your land, says the Lord. For a whirlwind will come, and it will spread across your land. It will blow across your land, and it will spread its wings into every corner of your lives. For this wind will blow, and it will separate those who are with me from those who are against me. Go into your homes on that day, for the tempest will come with great fury. You will be kept safely inside, but I tell you that those who do not know me will be in fear for the great wind that blows. For great extremes of weather are coming to your land, extremes of heat and extremes of cold. Prepare yourselves for these days, for the great birth pangs are rumbling. And I guess we could say with Drudge reporting Midwest feels like minus 75 degrees on the chill maps. I guess we are having one of these erratic things of extremes, I would say. How you doing, Larry?
Oh, just trying to stay warm. And I know you are.
It's brutal. It's really brutal, and they're having electrical failures here and there because it's overwhelming the systems. And, of course, what happens is an awful lot of people who have, it doesn't matter if they're propane or natural gas or even, kerosene-type heaters. Most of them run on electricity. Your electricity goes out, you don't have any heat. And this is one reason why people really need to install little heaters. You know, even if you only have one room you're going to heat, you can at least live. As you well know, Larry, you have you're by your fireplace most of the time, and it's hideous. And I don't know if a lot of people are going to perish in this, but if the power goes out, many people will perish from the cold. Likewise, many people will perish from extreme heat as well. And we're entering this period of big extremes. Anyway, we can get to that a little bit later. You've got a new Bible code from Barry Rothman, and it concerns, I guess, Kamala Harris, who is obviously a deep state communist. Folks, the communists have pulled out all the plugs. They have pulled out every plug there is. They're going in for the kill. And unfortunately, the vast majority of Americans are sitting back twiddling their thumbs and doing nothing about it. Anyway, Larry, what do you got on this thing from Barry?
Well, it's really interesting because Barry Rothman on January the 30th, which this is today, he had a Torah code under construction, and he actually ran two matrix groups. And really the wording that he began to run the code with, he didn't expect some of the words in the matrix to pop up, but they did. And he ran the code originally as Kamala Harris and free health care fantasy. And what he wound up with, he actually, and I know you haven't probably seen his post, and I hadn't had time to put it on my blog, but the images, if you remember World War Z, and you remember where that wall was around Jerusalem, and here they came, and all of those crazies were climbing that wall on top of each other. That's the image he's got on his website with this. It fits more with Matrix 2, but anyway, here's the wording in Matrix 1, and then I'll read 2. Number 1, Kamala Harris. Number 2, health care. Number 3, expensive. Number 4, USA. Number 5, enemy. Number 6, Iran. Number 7, leprosy. Number 8, border. Now, those words are kind of interesting, but he ran a matrix number 2 starting with the same wording, and it came up a little different and added some words. So this is 1 through 6. Let me read them. And remember what he says at the end. He says, the coming plague on our border. And when he says a plague and when he puts up an image of World War Z with the zombies climbing up the wall in mass, keep that image in your mind. Number 1, this is matrix number 2 now. Number 1, Kamala Harris. Number 2, health care. Number 3, expensive. Number 4, his plague. Number 5, enemy. Number 6, border. What do you think?
Well, it sounds to me like he's saying Pamela Harris is a very dangerous communist woman who is evidently gaining a lot of strength. And as I said earlier, they are pulling out all the plugs. I have long said that the New World Order, boys and girls, of which she is one of them, have to run the last part of their race to install the New World Order fully naked. In other words, I'm saying they have to expose themselves for what they really are, and we are watching it before our very eyes. The killing of babies that are born or about to be born. They're floating articles about you can kill a kid up to 2 years old if you decide you don't want it. The governor of Virginia, I think, said, oh, yeah, you know, even if the baby's born, we'll resuscitate it so it's alive, and then if the mother decides to kill it, we can kill it. Folks, this is Nazi Germany all over again. Got to kill the infirmed, anybody that's in a wheelchair, anybody that's mentally got a problem, anybody that doesn't agree with Hitler. We just kill them. We put them in labor camps. Russia did the same thing. Gulags. North Korea does it. China does it. You think we're any different? We're not any different. Healthcare expensive. They're going for this one-payer system. That's what they wanted all along. The problem with the healthcare system is not whether it's single payer or we buy our own insurance. The problem with the healthcare system is the AMA and the doctors and the hospitals and the rulers of the hospitals who collect $1 million deals. They charge you a fortune now for anything. If I was Trump, I'd be stomping all over the medical profession. They're not paying the doctors anymore. They're paying the rulers of the hospitals. They buy this equipment, and they write it off anyway, and they charge you a bloody fortune to go in and do it. And, you know, when you go by a clinic, Larry, how many people are there says something about the health of our nation. Our physical health is in a dumper, or they have been convinced it's in the dumper. So this healthcare system of Hillary, which is really what it was, they call it Obamacare, but Hillary's the one who introduced it. It's right out of Iron Mountain. Part of the Iron Mountain report was social health care. They're introducing all of this. And it says Kamala Harris, enemy. I would say she's an enemy of the United States. And as far as the report, I wonder why Iran's in there, but possibly because I think they're sending these people in through the border. The reason we don't have border security is God doesn't want border security. He says, I'm going to fill you with alien men who are going to rise up, and when I give the signal, they're going to destroy your nation. They are everywhere in our country, everywhere, even in the smaller towns. They're everywhere, and they're going to rise up when the time is right. And I think that time is right, is very good. But this is also interesting, Larry, border and plague. That's very interesting. In other words, we've already gotten reports right out of the government about how the people that are crossing our border are bringing in with them all kinds of diseases. And unfortunately, we probably are not immune to many of those diseases that we thought were eradicated. And the other thing about leprosy, and you mentioned the people that are coming in, we have no idea what they're carrying. And it was very, very interesting to me about the zombie aspect of this. The CDC floated a deal about zombies. The UK floated a whole bunch about zombieism. We had the movies. What was that movie called? The War of Z, or Z Wars, or whatever? What was the name of that?
World War Z.
Yeah. Why are they doing that unless they've got something, possibly in the chemtrails, that is going to actually do something like this and reduce people down to like zombies? Anyway, very, very interesting. Any other comment you would have on that one? Boy, that's fascinating. What's your take on it?
Well, Barry Rothman kind of leans towards, not only is it bringing a plague of people, and he references World War Z in the wall, but it also says they bring the plague with them. So the plague is not only them, but the plague is also the diseases they bring with them. And what's interesting, in the Torah code, it says it's his plague. And I wanted to add, too, you wondered what about Iran? Now, let me just run this by you. I haven't vetted all of it, but, I know a lot of people, when you say Valerie Jarrett, people should think of Iran. And I would just say, when you hear Kamala Harris, even though she plays like she's black, think Middle East. Check it out.
Yep. Yeah, we're being invaded, and it's going to be like leprosy in the United States. It's going to destroy us. And Kamala Harris, like all these others, are nothing but deep state enemies of the United States. And, the Muslim Brotherhood and all that Hillary and even Pelosi, they're all in this together. And there's nothing you or I can do about it at this point. The Lord has decided that judgment is to come against the United States, and that's simply the way it is. And maybe part of this judgment is exactly what we're watching when it comes to this cold wave. Power outages, this is from Judge. Power outages across Minneapolis leave thousands without heat. Extreme cold strains the natural gas systems. Hell freezes over. Snow plows idled. No mail delivery. Group urges residents to help protect feral cats. How about protecting each other? Train tracks set on fire to keep the trains running. Body found frozen in garage after shoveling snow. Probably had a heart attack, froze to death. What happened to global warming? It's just amazing. This is a polar vortex, and I believe we're under weather warfare. Can't prove it, but I think people that are into this sort of thing will probably come out on YouTube with videos proving that a lot of this is weather warfare. And the wind chills on something like this, you get frostbite within probably 2 to 3 minutes. When you have a wind blowing that's like 30 miles an hour, we've had horrendous winds here along with horrendous cold. I don't know, Larry. I just think we're under trouble, lots of trouble. What's the latest on Venezuela? I don't want to burn up all the time we've got fooling around with ice cold temperatures, but what's the latest?
Well, the latest one that I got, and I can't vet it at the moment, but it seems to be accurate. One American News has been showing large groups of Venezuelan military, And this is the latest out of Hal Turner. He says Venezuela, under Maduro, begins deployment of 500,000 troops throughout the country with emphasis on the Colombian border. And Colombia now deploying troops to the border with Venezuela. And at the same time, Fox put out a report yesterday, I believe it was, that Cuba had furnished Maduro 35,000 troops to fight the U.S. with that are currently in Venezuela. And Russian planes have been flying in, and also a lot of Cuban movements. So it sounds like Maduro's getting ready for a war, actually.
Yeah, I think they really feel that the United States is going to attack. Russia has warned the United States, don't do it. If we attack Venezuela and there's a lot of Russian troops there, which we very highly suspect, along with Chinese troops, and who knows, maybe North Korean troops, and we go to war there, this could very rapidly expand. Now, here's an interesting thing, too, I've read. Russia flies tons of gold out of Venezuela. That would indicate that Putin doesn't want Donald Trump to seize all the gold when they take over. So he's flying at least the gold he can get out of there. And this is from Bloomberg. Venezuela has 20 tons of gold ready to ship. The address unknown. Well, of course, we know where it is. Venezuelan lawmaker Jose Guerrero dropped the bombshell on Twitter. The Russian Boeing 777, now this is Bloomberg, very reliable, that had landed in Caracas the day before was there to spirit away 20 tons of gold from the vaults of the country's central bank. The claim set off a welter of social media speculation and outrage. When asked how he knew this, he provided no evidence that it was true. How do you vet something like that? But it makes sense. If I was Maduro, that's exactly what I would do, because he's in deep with the Russians as far as finances, and he's in deep with the Chinese on finances. I don't think they're about to let go of all the millions they have invested in Venezuela. What do you think on that one? That's just my take.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that, and also, you know, we already know there are Hezbollah, reported ISIS, Iranians. I mean, Venezuela is just literally full of everybody that hates America.
Yeah, we got plenty of those right here in America. I was watching a video where a lady at some meeting held up the American flag, had her hand on her heart, and recited the Pledge of Allegiance. She was booed. Right here in America. You people want a communist nation? I hope you get it. I really hope you get it. Because that's what, if the Lord is a just God, he doesn't have any choice. He has to give it to us in spades. There's something else going on, though, in Venezuela. Trump's national security advisor, John Bolton, recently admitted to Fox Business that the U.S. has a lot at stake, amidst the ongoing Venezuelan crisis, given the fact that it has the world's largest proven oil reserves. It will make a big difference to the United States economically if we could have American oil companies invest in and produce the oil capabilities in Venezuela. That's what this is all about, folks. It's an energy war. Isn't that amazing? It's like every other war. It's about energy, or it's about dollars. So here we are. Do we ever learn, Larry? Do we ever learn?
Oh, apparently not. No, never. But yet, we may never learn, Stewart, but what's interesting is we have absolutely exposed in our face the incredible evil corruption of the government of this country. We have it in our face. Matter of fact, Stewart, all the intel agencies, that includes the FBI and the DOJ, have now stood up and rejected Trump completely and told the world that the crisis that he keeps talking about does not exist. We don't have any enemies converging on us, Stewart. That's the story from Deep State, Washington, D.C.
And what they did to, what's his name? I just dropped his name.
Stone?
They arrested him the other day. Stone, Roger Stone. You know, when they used a SWAT team, they were giving you all out there listening a message. You step out of line, you're going to have a SWAT team on your doorstep. And I've got an article here. I only want to read part of it, but it is so scary if it's true. And I think it probably is true. And it's all about the deal with FEMA and the FEMA director and what he said at a speech. Called you American people cattle. And he said, if they will not bow down, to your authority as a FEMA agent, well, just kill them. Basically, I'm paraphrasing what he said. Just kill them, but make sure you don't have any witnesses. This nation is out of control, and the American people have allowed it to be that way. And then we have the United Nations and their disarmament, which we have now signed on to. The U.S. agreed to enact full implementation of an international agreement on gun control that will violate Americans' constitutional rights by adding their personal information to a global database so they know where the guns are and they can round them up. State Department document 7277, folks. If you haven't gone online and looked it up, you better. This is the United Nations, Agenda 21/30/50. All the military, all the guns, private as well, are to be seized by the United Nations. Oregon just proposed a new law against the law to defend yourselves, just like the FEMA director said. Let me read part of what he said. At an agency meeting last Tuesday, now I don't know how you vet this, FEMA director Brock Long told regional subordinates that citizens who question the agency's mission are nothing more than cattle and must be treated as hostile combatants. Long told colleagues that agents must not hesitate to use discreet, lethal force if citizens defy FEMA's authority, and reminded them that powers granted by the Patriot Act absolve agents of criminal malfeasance when acting in the line of duty. He warned them, however, not to shoot anybody in the presence of media personalities, i.e., don't shoot anybody in the presence of a witness. This is high treason, and there's nothing else you can say about it. But it goes hand in hand with what they're doing and how the Democrats want to disarm the United States citizens. If the American people ever give up their guns without a big fight, they're crazy. They're crazy. Make it as expensive as you can if this is what they're going to do. I can't say that's what they're going to do. I can't even vet whether this article is true. But when you're seeing stuff like this in the United States of America, think about how far we have fallen, folks. When you got talk of revolution, you've got talk of FEMA taking over and putting Americans in camps. As Hillary said, every American needs to go to a Camp Joy and be re-educated. The military manuals talk about re-education camps. Yet all of this is out in the open. I don't know, folks. Everybody's asleep. Larry, one more thing about the what's going on over there in Iran. The threats are coming more and more, and they're nasty threats. What do you think?
Yeah, I would have to say, Stewart, that we're probably approaching what you call Daniel 8, the Daniel 8 war. It appears that they're preparing a massive attack on Israel. And I think Netanyahu knows this, and that's what he's preparing for, basically. And he's kept conflict with Syria and Hamas and Hezbollah to a minimum, building up to the point where he knows they're going to be attacked. And I fully expect, Stewart, when this war starts and the missiles start flying, you'll see some nukes go off. Some Israeli nukes will go off.
Yeah, I think so, too. For Damascus to become a ruinous heap, you'd have to use several Moabs or a nuke of some sort. Now, here's a trap, folks, and I want to make sure you understand what this is. What do you think of mental health services being offered at Walmart? Mental health care in the United States is going mainstream with the opening of the first mental health clinic tucked into a Texas Walmart. The company rolled out the concept of bring behavioral services to a community setting that was convenient and affordable. It is the biggest trap ever set for the American people. You go into one of these, you're on the list. You can't have a gun. You see what they're doing? They're coming in the back way. Donald Trump himself said it. We've really got to, do with this mental health stuff. Don't be fooled. This is what the communists did. Why not play by the same book? The communists have played for years in every nation they've ever overtaken. In America, we're in the middle of a communist coup, folks. No question about it. Anyway, Friday we'll get into some of this a little more. What do you think, Larry? What do you think about mental health in Walmarts?
Well, it's the same thing that we've been going through for people that's involved with the VA. For the last 2 years, every time you go to the VA, almost they want to know if you got any guns. And some answer that question, but a whole lot don't. And it's the same ploy. They're going to the mental health deal to stop people from either purchasing or even owning a gun. It's all a trap, Stewart. It's just a big, big trap, but America just snoozes on.
Yeah, I know. Kind of like one flew over the cuckoo's nest. And I'm afraid that America has become almost an insane asylum, let alone Washington, which is where, what was her name, Nurse Ratched? That's where she lives. But apparently America is now the asylum, and only a few are going to escape this thing. It's incredible what's going on. Anyway, any last word before we close down?
I guess we're just kind of watching at the moment the Venezuela thing, and also this date later in February about the wall. It seems like the scam is working, and Trump doesn't have a wall.
Yeah, and we have a sign in the heavens, folks. I think it's tomorrow night. Very ominous sign. The sign appeared when our government raided Waco, Texas, and the Branch Davidians and burned them alive. The sign is a crescent moon and the planet Venus. It is the sign of Islam. It is the sign of the Muslim world. I think it's a warning to the United States about what is soon to come. What more can I tell you? We had the blood red moon. We've had the conjunction of Venus and Jupiter. And now we have the sign of Islam. And we have two more full mega moons, I guess you could call them. And then I think it's about over after that. Then we've been told, I don't know how many times by the Lord. Anyway, thanks a lot, Larry, for coming on. We'll see you all Friday if the Lord allows, and we are allowed on the air. You never know. Anyway, thanks a lot, folks. Thank you, Larry. Have a good night, everyone. Night.